Good evening to one and all. Welcome to the seventh day of International Webinar Series organized by Skill Center Vidya Academy of Science and Technology, Thrissur, in association with ISTE Chapter. Today, we have Ms. Devika Chandramohan A. as the speaker. Now, I invite Dr. Sudha Balagopalan, Dean Academics, Vidya Academy of Science and Technology, Thrissur, for the welcome speech.
Thank you, Shruti. A very good evening to everyone present here. I'm happy that Devika has already joined us. I can see that her parents are here, her aunt, uncle, etc. are all here. Moreover, I can see that some of our trust members might be joining us today. Normally, our chief patron of Vidya International Charitable Trust is already logged in, but perhaps he'll join later. I can see some of our directors, especially our academic director, is already here. Our principal has joined in. Several teachers are also logged in, not only from our college, but also from outside colleges, because we have prepared a few teachers within our walls. We have other people, our alumni is here, I can see that. And many of our students, as also students from outside colleges are here. So a warm welcome to each one of you. I'm hoping that you will enjoy a great session today. So moving on to what is happening today, as I keep saying, this is the penultimate session, and today it is special. It is special because of two reasons. One is, of course, we have the youngest speaker, and she's speaking about the oldest kind of people and some of the factors that affect them. So in that sense, it is unique, it is special, and of course, it is supposed to be interesting and profitable in terms of technologies and their production. So, what is the relevance of this topic at this point of time? As we all know, we have been hearing that COVID-19 creates its ravages on the elderly, especially because of the comorbidities. That's point number one. Point number two is that the lockdown creates its own share of loneliness. And the loneliness is more poignant in these days because the children don't come in from abroad. We do not have too many of visits. And so the elderly do feel quite lonely in these times. And this is loneliness and the topic, that is, we have a youngster talking about technologies for the elderly for today. Let me connect them together. So my age group, and so perhaps a set of people, perhaps a little older or younger, may be the people who are looking after their parents at this point of time. And so what we notice is that we sometimes become a little impatient, a little irritated because of our changed priorities, perhaps unfortunate priorities, as also some of our obligations, which come in at this point of time in our age and our duties. And so perhaps we are not good role models for the youngsters who are watching us. But at the same time, you might have noticed, in fact, all of us have noticed that whenever we whenever we used to do some winding of the clock or some watches, or even recently when we adjust their mobile phones or do something associated with technologies for our grandparents, they become very proud and happy about us. So today might be offering us a chance. These youngsters that are logged in, quite a large number of students are here. So today must be giving you a chance to bring back that proud smile on your grandparents' face. And perhaps later on, when we all become old, perhaps we will have something to look forward to as a result of the technologies of today. And perhaps I learned today, in fact, one of my colleagues was telling me that tomorrow might be quite different. We might have too many elderly people and too few youngsters. So today is the time when we learn from perhaps even Devika and try to provide some technologies, produce some technologies which will keep us a little less lonely in our coming years. The passion with which Devika speaks about her journey that is yet to come. She's very young. She's just a second year medical student. So her journey with patients, which she wants to equip with more perhaps comforts as also a sense of well-being and her exposure as a volunteer, which she obtained as a result of, I believe, I suppose I'm supposed to speak about that, the Ronald Reagan Foundation, based on which she was a volunteer. So the exposure and the passion is what she's bringing to us. And at the same time, she has two problems. One is, of course, she's very young, and most of the people who are listening to her are older than her. That's point number one. Point number two is that all these few years that she spent in US. So her language might be a little difficult to follow for all us who are speaking not just Indian English but also Malayali English and sometimes Manglish. Let's hope that she told me that she'll address that. But at the same time, we have to make her comfortable. The onus is upon us to make her comfortable. And let me hope that everyone who is logged in and who will be continuously logging in. In fact, some of the people, we have now 243 people, and quite a large number might be joining the YouTube also, because quite many people want to listen to Devika. So in that sense, of course, we are happy to have her here. And regarding the YouTube details are also given here now. So soon I'll be handing over. Of course, she's different from others in the sense that she's neither an engineer nor a doctor, but I'll call her Ammani Modu. I'll call her Ammani Modu, and I'll hand back the session to Professor Salkala, who will be introducing her formally, who will be introducing Miss Devika Chandramohan, my beloved niece and the daughter of my beloved brother, to this session. Thank you.
Before the talk, let me formally introduce the guest of occasion. Ms. Devika Chandramohan is a second year graduate student at the Tech School of Medicine of University of Southern California. She received her Bachelor of Science in Psychobiology from the University of California, Los Angeles. She has a passion for the holistic care of patients. Also, she is particularly interested in how creating empathetic, long-term relationships with patients can support their health journeys. Welcome, Madam, for the presentation.
Okay, so should I start now?
Okay.
Great. Let me just open the slides. Okay, so good evening, everyone. Good evening for you. It's very early for me, so I will do my best to stay awake, and hopefully all of you will as well. So today's talk will be far less technical than the other ones you may have had this week. I promise there won't be a single graph in my presentation. While it may seem kind of unrelated to the work that you're doing, I think it's really important for everyone to be knowledgeable about the issues that older adults face, since many of us will take care of an elderly person in our lives, and all of us, whether we want to believe it or not, will become old at some point. Like I was introduced, my name is Devika, and today I'm going to be talking about what is considered an epidemic in the United States and is increasingly becoming a problem worldwide, and that is loneliness in older adults. So before we get into the topic, I'll give a little background on myself. I've lived in the suburbs of Los Angeles since I was about 3 years old. Maybe you recognize this image of a bunch of skyscrapers with tall palm trees. Many of you probably recognize it as Hollywood, the entertainment capital of the world. Unfortunately, right now, Los Angeles is pretty well known for being one of the big epicenters of the current corona outbreak in California. Anyway, this is where I've grown up, and I currently go to medical school at the Keck School of Medicine of USC in East Los Angeles. So I'm a second year. I'm entering my second year actually in a couple of weeks. And I've developed a really strong interest in specializing in geriatrics, which is a specialty in medicine focused on the care of the elderly. To become a geriatrician, it takes 4 years of college to get your bachelor's degree, then 4 years of medical school, 3 to 5 years of residency, and then a year or two of fellowship. So I'm going to be spending a lot of years in school, but I think it's worth it for the competencies that you acquire. Geriatricians gain a lot of skills that other doctors may not receive training in, including managing medications, especially aimed at reducing the overprescription of medications in older adults, mental health, which is a huge component of our overall health, palliative and end-of-life care, and falls and balance and gait disorders, which is a huge risk for older adults. Now, when I tell people, especially my classmates, that I want to work with old people for the rest of my life, I often get the same question, which is why? For a lot of my colleagues, connecting with older adults is really difficult. And to be fair, geriatric patients can be some of the most complicated ones. They often have multiple comorbidities and are taking more medication than they even need. For me, though, a big part of what draws me to geriatrics is that it's one of the most patient-centric fields of medicine. That is, geriatricians really keep the life goals and beliefs of the patient at the center of their care plan. Another important reality is that we do live in an aging world. There are currently about 703 million people across the world who are 65 years or older, and it's projected to be 1.5 billion by the year 2050. And so with life expectancy on the rise and people having fewer children, our population is shifting to be older. In fact, in 2018, that was the first time that there were more people who are 65 and older than there were 5 years and younger. However, it seems like the care for the elderly has not really kept up. I don't know if this is because we don't want to face the reality that aging is inevitable, despite the fountain of youth serums and foods we're being told about every day. But we need more people who are highly skilled and interested in improving elderly care. And I don't just mean in medicine. We need leaders and innovators in every field, including engineering, who are thinking about making things better for our elderly. For me personally, my interest in the field started here. Well, not exactly at this age, but because of these people. Every summer of my childhood was spent in India, playing beauty salon on my amama or eating delicious unniyappams that my achama made. And my grandparents' vivid stories and lessons became a part of my mental library, and it shaped me into who I am today. And I honestly think it's this constant exposure that I had to the positive role models in my life that made older adults always have a very special place in my heart. When I was younger, I used to believe that my grandparents were invincible. But as I got older and I started to notice how much more susceptible they were to illnesses and how they were slowly losing certain abilities, I became really aware of how fragile they really are. And so I want to do everything I can to make their lives and the lives of everyone's grandparents everywhere better, and to do it through my calling, which is medicine. But I do think that my grandparents were quite fortunate. They maintained their independence well into their lives, and they were surrounded by close relatives that they can trust. But this is not the case for many older adults. With changes in family structures, so there are more nuclear families, more double income households, and more children abroad in different countries, it's becoming difficult for older adults to live with their children. According to a UN study, an overwhelming majority of countries have seen an increase in older adults living independently and less older adults co-residing with their children. Even in India, where joint families or multiple generations living together is more common, there's been a decline over the past 20 to 30 years in the number of older adults who are living with their children. Some continue to live alone, while others move into nursing homes or assisted living facilities. And they often do not have family or close friends joining them, maybe a visit a week, which is not really enough for someone in their lives. And so this can lead to social isolation and loneliness. So before I continue, it's important that I define some terms. You might be wondering what's the difference between social isolation and loneliness. So social isolation is defined as the absence of social interactions, contacts, relationships with family and friends, with neighbors at an individual level, and with society at large. And loneliness is defined as a distressing feeling that accompanies the perception that one's social needs are not being met by the quantity or especially the quality of one's social relationships. So to break this down, essentially, social isolation is the number of relationships that you have, while loneliness is more of that subjective, qualitative experience, the negative feelings that you have associated with the number or quality. And it's important to distinguish. Someone can have, very few relationships in their lives, but they don't need anymore, and they feel full. These are huge numbers. These should be zero, but they're not. And that's a day. So we're here telling our patients to eat healthy and not smoke and not drink. And I was connected with a 92-year-old Jewish lady here in Los Angeles. And you might be wondering, what do a 23-year-old Indian girl and a 92-year-old Jewish lady have in common? This sounds like the setup for a really loud punchline, but this is a genuine question I've been asked. And you'd be surprised at how many things share with an older person. For instance, we both like to dance. She's a Zumba dancer and I'm a Bharatanatyam dancer. We both really enjoy Frank Sinatra music and some classic jazz. And we both were experiencing the impact of COVID-19 on our loneliness a lot because of Corona. I was no longer going to school. I was at home. I was not seeing my friends. And I wasn't able to do the things that I was used to. And just like me, she was also experiencing a lot of that. She couldn't go to her temple. She couldn't see her friends. Her children. She was living in a nursing home, and her social interaction was pretty much limited to upstairs. And so we both were in the same situation of experiencing loneliness to a degree. And I think when we were brought into this area of commonality, that's where empathy really rises from. And so we were able to connect at this. We would talk about help older adults is just seen as a hindrance. The older lady that I would talk to every week, I would ask her if she wants to video chat, if she has an iPhone or a tablet, and she said that she tried it multiple times and she just couldn't figure it out, and the frustration was just not worth it for her. But she would also feel really sad because she would see her friends being able to talk. She would see that her friends are able to join the temple services on Zoom and talk to their kids and family. And so there's definitely this barrier was preventing her from enjoying her social life to the full extent. But there are some solutions that are currently being put out there. A device created by a Norwegian company called No Isolation. So this device is called Calm, and it's a one-button kind to help older adults, especially those who have no experience using smartphones or computers. So it comes with internet.
On their lap and they'll play the game together. So it becomes a family activity they can do together.
A really important aspect of GrandPad is that we've designed it so that customer support is always one
of this accessible technology. We need it to be more affordable, and we need it to be made while involving older adults. So it shouldn't be about training older people to use technology that has been created for like people my age. It should be creating technology that is aimed for being used by older adults, making their lives easier so that they're able to stay connected with the people that they care about. And so that's where people like all of you come into play, the engineers and the innovators and the computer scientists, the people who can create the technology that is going to change the way that older adults interact with the people in their lives and help them maintain their social connections as they age, and play a role in reducing the impact and the prevalence of loneliness in our society. So that's my presentation. It doesn't have a lot about technology, but I still hope that you're able to find something that you can latch onto and hopefully inspire some of the work that you will do in the future. And I think the best thing that we can all do to understand the situation of older adults is to work with them, volunteer. There are people who need food delivery. There's people who just need phone calls every week. And there's people in your own lives that just need a little more company from you. So I think we can all do better to reach out to the older people in our lives. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Devika. Are you ready to perhaps address a few questions you might get?
Yeah, sure. I do want to clarify. I'm not. I would never claim to be an expert in this field. I am just a student.
Of course, you're very young. Yeah.
I will do my best to answer your questions.
But then because you spoke about a technology which is not yet available in India. That it was available in very few, perhaps only in Europe. If that is so, and then again we have an internet problem, so we should have what can be called as an Indian equivalent. Okay, and of course when it becomes and for it to become affordable, it means that we need to have no divides between the we need to have no digital divides, neither economic divides. Yeah. So let's wait for some questions. I'm hoping somebody will say something. Will ask something. Yeah. Students, please switch on your mic, and if you want to ask something or if you want to clarify something, I think Devika will try. Will try her very best. Okay, is this the way that we're going to greet everything in silence? Yes, spoke about articulation such that we can keep the elderly not lonely. Yeah, somebody's asking. I think Siju has switched on. Professor Siju has switched on a mic. Let's wait for the question.
Yes. Okay, I think probably it is not the older persons alone being affected. I think all of us are being affected by such loneliness at times because of stress and everything. So I think this type of stress goes to the elderly as well as the youngsters also. For that also, certain things has to be developed by ourselves, but I think some solutions of that sort also is required. Right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. I agree that people in every age group experience loneliness. I just think that sometimes it's a little easier maybe for us to reach out or to use the technologies that we have. You know, we have access to social media or video chats, while older adults have not grown up with that or have never, had access to it growing up, and it's just much more difficult for them to use it. But I agree, we definitely need technology that's it's an intervention for every age group.
Thank you.
You can work with when in your work. Yeah, somebody's asking something. Is there any alternative to GrandPad which can be? Okay, I lost it. Yeah. Just have a look at the chat window.
Yeah, I've not heard of anything, but there may be things that are used in India, but also that's a great kind of gap in the technology. It'd be a great opportunity for you to create something, I think.
That's right. Yeah, you are invoking the innovators amongst us, isn't it? Okay, so meanwhile, you have some experience with volunteering earlier. Okay, you must have experienced not just loneliness, perhaps too many faults, etc. As you provide in one of your slides. Have you? Can you share something else? Like, for instance, what are the different other troubles that elderly people have that perhaps technology can address?
Oh, that's a good question. I think even making I don't know if they have this in India, but here we use patient portals for visits, and those can sometimes be it's where you can log into your patient portal, you can make appointments with your doctor, you can see your medication list, and you can see everything, all your lab results. And oftentimes that's difficult for older adults to maneuver those websites. And so making those more accessible would be a really interesting project to work on, because otherwise they have to come in person to talk to their doctor. And especially right now when we're trying to reduce the number of in-person visits by all people, especially immunocompromised people like older adults. That's a great place to improve the technology, as well as making telemedicine more accessible. I know that video chat is difficult for older adults, but we need them to be able to video chat for the doctor to be able to see them. So how do you improve telemedicine as well? I think there's some questions in the chat.
That's an appreciation for you, wherein our academic director mentions that there aren't many youngsters who are ready to volunteer and spend some time with elderly. But then I think this session is supposed to encourage that, okay, amongst the youngsters. Okay, and when we see that so many youngsters are logged in today, and after they've understood the some of the points that you've covered, I'm very sure. Okay, in fact, I have more confidence in youngsters, so I'm hoping that things will improve a lot. Okay, I hope there are more questions. The youngsters must ask questions.
I see some in the chat. I think seems like a great idea. I can think of many additions like religious discourses, etc. Important considerations for physical activities online. Those are really great ideas. Actually, there's been some work that's being done to have online exercise classes via Zoom for older adults. And then since loneliness can be a problem for all ages, what should be the different criteria for such devices? I guess it's just in terms of accessibility, right? Because I don't think, like, even as we age, I was looking at the website for that Norwegian company, and they were noting that as our skin gets drier, it gets more difficult to use the touch pads. And so for older adults, maybe that those screens need to be made more for them, while for younger adults, it doesn't have to be like that. Yeah, and I just think it's in terms of accessibility. Like what would make it easier for each age group to use the device?
Yeah, that's a very interesting information bit that you have given us, in the sense that because of skin drying, we have a problem with manuring the screen. Okay, so let's think about other materials. Okay, another question has come up. Clinical data that can be. Okay. Gopi is asking a question. Gopi from Italy is asking a question.
The clinical data? What do you mean by the clinical data? Are you referring to that online portal I was talking about?
Gopi, can you switch on your mic and ask directly?
Oh yeah, so yes, those portals are completely secure. All the HIPAA, there's no it's all very secure. So none of that information can be shared beyond the medical team and the person who's accessing the portal.
Actually, in Europe, while sharing the medical data, we are following GDPR regulations. Is there any kind of regulations in America as well?
Yeah, so in America, it's the HIPAA. It's like the something patient protection thing. I don't know exactly what it stands for. But yeah, HIPAA violations are a huge issue, taken very seriously. And from our very beginning in our training, we're told of all the ways that we can violate HIPAA. And that even includes, even if you're talking about a patient with your colleague, you never use their name and you never use any identifying factors about them. So yeah, these portals are made to be very secure.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you.
Gopi is feeling a little lonely away from India. Sachin says something, in my opinion. Okay, of course, he's talking about a trip, but since trip is not possible right now, perhaps the children has to be brought home.
I would love to be able to travel back, but we've been banned.
Hi, Devika.
Hi.
Hi. Hi. Hi. Nice presentation.
Professor Emily Bai, who wants to
It's
say,
very
wants to
good.
say something.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm hearing two people talking.
Yes, Devika, I really appreciate you, for getting into such a noble activity of taking care of the elders. It's a good motivation for the youngsters here. Sir, I have a specific question. This Grandpa app or mobile devices are the innovations coming out of the industries. Is there any funding agencies from government or government aided or charity, trust-based, some agencies, so that would promote innovations, to address or tackle the issues with the elderly people. So for example, in our institution itself, our students, they have innovated a device, bloodless test for and equipment for testing the diabetics and blood pressure. Now with your mobile phone itself, you can test it.
Oh wow!
Be such a sort of that was funded by the industry, likewise any international forum, so that would fund such kind of innovations.
I'm not sure if there is. That would be really fantastic, and that whatever device you just described sounds really cool. That's really cool that some of your own students made that. But yeah, I'm not sure if there is any international funding for this. I know that there are a lot of efforts to improve elderly care across the world. Even in India, I think about 2 years ago, the first hospital that was dedicated to the care of elderly was opened up in New Delhi. So it's definitely improving everywhere. And so I hope that the technology side of the industry is also seeing the importance of the work that can be done.
It's good, but I have seen somewhere some of the projects are funded by WHO. So how do we get access to those forums? Is there any idea about? Do you have anything about this?
Devika is too young, Professor. Devika is I'll connect something. Yeah. I'll connect something. Yeah, of course. No, it's good that you initiated such a question, because now Devika will be on the lookout, because she is interested in geriatric care, and she perhaps will connect us also to any kind of technologies that are required, even in India, because geriatric care happens to be her forte. So if that is so, if you find out any such what do you call it, some agencies, do let us know. Okay?
Oh yeah, definitely. I'll let you know.
As compared to us, because we deal with something else altogether. So if you come in contact with, or if you get to know about such funding agencies, do let us know, because ultimately some fund is required for any kind of development of technologies. Okay, Devika.
Of course, I'll let you know.
Devika, I just asked not to trouble you in any means. Now, since you're now involving in voluntary work and you'll come across many forums would fund for such activities, so that may help our students to innovate something good for the elderly people.
Yeah, no, definitely. If I hear about something, I'll definitely let Sudhavyama know so that she can let all of you know about it.
Okay, so that's a Professor Remini. Let's hope for the best. Okay, let's hope that able to help the elderly in India. Okay, based on contact that we have right now. Okay, yeah. So your job is Professor Remini Bai's job is to develop technology. My job is to connect you together, and Devika will try to find something or the other. Funded. Okay, I think Shobha has switched on her.
Yeah. Hi, Devika. Nice presentation. Nice presentation. Congratulations, Devika. I will ask you one thing. That is, one of the major issue as a result of loneliness, I feel, is dementia. Have you noticed that? Have you noticed that? Dementia among,
Yeah, there's actually studies that have been done that prove that there's a greater risk for dementia in lonely adults.
So, okay. So, what solutions? May I suggest you that is by studying new languages, similarly by trying to remember, or by expanding our vocabulary, this be overcome? Can this dementia?
Yeah. I think having more, using your brain more, having activities that are going to keep you engaged. So like I mentioned some of those video games. Maybe games that are just going to keep you engaged and using your brain. I think that will definitely help with dementia.
Okay, thank you, Devika.
Okay. Professor Shobha has asked a very interesting question. I think with a large number of people working on artificial intelligence, perhaps the data sets that we can get in this context can be converted into a prediction of dementia. What do you say? And then, connecting the loneliness dementia, and so perhaps I find some ways for addressing these. Okay, do you think we can get some data sets to bring loneliness and connected together?
I can send you some studies that I found.
Yeah, exactly. Some studies, some WHO details, etc., or perhaps even based on any kind of fora. Of course, there might be some exclusive agencies looking for. Chandu is talking about dementia because he talked about that. So perhaps if we have some data sets which connect also loneliness regarding the number of people that are involved, etc., we may have a feature extraction which can perhaps go onto an app or something like that, wherein you can try to mitigate or redress the problem early enough. What do you say?
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah.
And of course, you are very young. So, but still, perhaps we are giving you ideas. It could be that way also. So that is
definitely.
How can you connect loneliness to dementia? Okay, so if loneliness and dementia can be connected together, since you say that there are plenty of studies, perhaps that will be another feature that some of our people can use and try to redress this and try to at least delay the dementia part. Okay, I suppose Shobha has got some.
Sure.
Okay, so perhaps she might have got an answer. Yeah.
I think I'm not sure what the security is that's used in the GrandPad, but I don't think it stores too much personal data. And I know in that Norwegian company one, they make it very clear that it does not store any personal data. It's very, very basic level abilities for the GrandPad.
So it's more like a screen, isn't it? Which gives you all kinds of attractive things.
It's basically like those tablets from maybe the early 2000s where we couldn't do anything with it really, but it's enough to keep people connected.
So retrofitting them might be good, right?
Yeah.
Hi, ma'am.
Hello?
I would love to say that it was very nice presentation and talk that you did. One thing I had in mind that, as you said, you volunteered and connected with a 92-year-old through phone. There are a lot of people who doesn't have access to mobile phones or especially in India, there are a lot of homeless grandparents out there. So, as a civil engineering student, I think there should be something. There must be something to do with that. We have to. So, as a conduction in my college, I had a conduction program where I actually did go to a old age home, and they didn't have like their situation was very pathetic. So, do you think there is any kind of like volunteering group in India which is like doing something for older persons?
I'm not sure if there is, but I can definitely look into it and send the details if you're interested in working with them. Is that, does that sound okay?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So what does Regan Foundation work on?
Oh, that is that's a just a scholarship. It's not a volunteering group. It's just a scholarship for students from the area that I'm from.
So how did you get into volunteering?
I got into that's a good question. I just think it's part of the culture here is just to volunteer when you're young, and I just really enjoyed all the volunteering I did. I started with I was working with children in science fairs when I was in high school, and then I started working at a free clinic, and I've just always loved my work with volunteering. I feel like my calling is definitely to work with the underserved and the underprivileged. I find more satisfaction from that than any other group of people. So I'm hoping that in my career, I'm also able to keep that at the center of my work. And fortunately, I go to a medical school that really values taking care of the underserved. All of our doctors are doing some form of volunteering. And I'm also in a field that really makes it easy to be involved in the community. But I think everyone can volunteer in their own means. It doesn't have to be in a medical setting or anything like that. Anything that you love, whether it's just working with animals at an animal shelter, or I think volunteering can even just be within your family if you spend time with someone who needs that help. So,
very proud of you.
It's maybe it's more of a selfish thing. I feel good after it. So.
Yeah, but then I think matches with what Nitin Patnaban was trying to say. He's saying the influence of upbringing by the parents is important, and that's exactly what landed you in this, isn't it? You talk about parents, but also your grandparents. Very good. Okay, have you observed background steps to address this? So I suppose the young parents who are out there, including Nitin Patnaban, should think about this.
Steps to influence your children to take care of you when you're older, maybe.
So Nitin is a young parent. Perhaps he will take care that. Okay, he will take care of things because he's a caring son. If we don't have any more questions, and if Devika is tired, we'll say thank you to her. Anyone else wants to ask something? Yeah, Nitin says now, of course. Tired, Devika. It's early morning for you. Are you tired?
Yeah, a little. I've been woken up this early all summer, so.
Very early, isn't it? What time is it now? There.
Oh, it's 8 now. It's 8 now.
So. Yeah, so you've been with us for about more than an hour.
Yeah, an hour. Yeah.
Which means that so you are ready. Okay. So do you have school? Do you have medical school today?
No, my classes will start in a couple of weeks. Right now, I'm on summer break.
So okay. So if no, can we call it a day?
Okay, yeah, thank you so much for having me. This is really nice.
Someone will say thanks to you. I'm hoping that someone will say that one of our people will say thanks to you. Yeah, Anil, Professor Anil has logged in. He'll be saying thanks to you.
Okay.
Yeah, good evening, ma'am. Myself, Anil. As Sudha ma'am suggested you for this particular program, we are so much impressed about the methods you adopted for the volunteering service as well as for the render to the old age people. We are also doing something in our college. for a few people located in and around our college place. Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Thanks a lot for the wonderful presentations as well as the knowledge you shared with our students as well as our colleagues. And thanks, Sudha ma'am, for arranging such a good section from the category of social service to be entered and other than India. Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Thanks a lot.
So thank you so much for having me. Thanks an immense lot, Devika. Okay, I'm that a person like you has come over because the most important characteristic that a student has to carry is empathy, and I think you gave the best example of course, from empathy to sympathy to empathy. This is the growth that has to happen, and I hope that it has been imbibed by my young people who are here, because this is the most important lesson that you have given to us, that empathy matters, that the feelings of the elderly matter a lot, and they are not supposed to be confined to old age homes. They are supposed to be in our heart all the while, isn't it? Okay, thanks a lot. Okay, Devika. Have a good
thank you so much.
life. Let's hope we all wish you, everyone in this platform, great future, because you matter, your work matters. Okay, thank you. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.